Hey, what's up you guys? You're watching Team APS. Paul and Shrell here. In today's vid, we're gonna talk about the decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! That have stayed competitive.
They just won't fucking die. First on the list, who is this guy? First on the list is gonna be Cosmos.
Yeah, them.
Cosmos have
Gross.
been out, well, they came out 2 years
Late
ago.
2015.
Yeah, they started bringing
Mid
out
to late
cards, yeah.
2015.
And where we didn't know what their win condition was going to be, except for big ships, which makes sense. Their ships are great. They are comprised of what? Little pilots and big ships.
It's the pilots and the ships.
Yeah, the pilots are the playmakers. The ships are the bosses.
Bosses.
Yeah, and the deck just cannot die. Which, given granted, they keep getting support. You have huge monsters with great effects that cannot be targeted, and when they're destroyed, they give you extra things. You can't beat this. I have a monster that I can't typically get away. I can't typically get rid of with my conventional means, and now when I do get rid of it, it does other things. So it would make sense why this deck would still be hanging around, giving people hell.
What's interesting about Cosmos too is how the deck itself transformed as it got more and more support.
That's true.
Kind of started out with the whole like farm girl thing.
Farm girl TK
Then it kind of turned into like you saw the tin can, you saw Straw Hat, you saw Dark Destroyer, and like Dark Lady, and all these cards that kind of changed how the deck itself worked. But what I think really kept it around so long is really the fact that Cosmotown and all the big ships get effects strictly from being destroyed. Yeah. So it led to a bunch of hybrids, like right now there's like Metal Foes, there's True Draco. True Draco Cosmo. I played against that. I was just like, what? Like, please tell me this isn't real.
I played against Zodiac Cosmo. That's annoying. It was like 60 cards. It was fucking crazy.
And then I remember like just Demise Cosmos when they were using.
Oh yeah, that's not.
Sword Trooper and like all these crazy cards, and it's just like Cosmos. For something that seems like a contained archetype, is like it's versatile. I think that's what's kept it around like so long.
Yeah, that's what makes it so dangerous. The fact that it can be a deck totally on its own, or it can be an engine somewhere else and be completely fine and still be just as powerful.
Right. So they get number 5. Number 4 then, and if we're moving in this order, would be Burning Abyss.
Burning Abyss. You all knew it was on the list.
Yeah, no one. Burning Abyss, I think, is actually of all the decks in this list, probably the one people hate the most being around. Like. Everyone always wants Dante banned, and like he just doesn't get banned.
I think they were mad at Dante because of what happened to Tour Guide.
Yeah, he makes like the ladies take the hits for him.
He does. He's a pimp, like straight up. Like
dude, like Tour Guide took the hit for him. Beatrice, his own wife or whatever. Yeah.
You got rid of singing.
Burning Abyss, I think the reason it stuck around so long is just because of the simple design of just monsters that float, no matter how they hit the grave.
Weird ass effects.
So no matter what happens,
and
it's
big
like
old booties.
As long as I know, everything had 2K defense, and then Dante's 25. I think that the real thing with Burning Abyss is like they lasted so long because like they had their initial thing, then they got like Fire Lake and all this stuff, then they got like Phantom Knights and all that stuff, and then like Speedway Terror. Like it kind of no matter how it happened. As long as they had a way to quickly make Dante and start shooting stuff out into the grave, the rest didn't matter.
They were fine.
And we've seen it combined with the things I mentioned before. We've seen random hybrids with like Infernoids and Shaddolls. Like even today, it's technically still something you kind of could expect to see in a tournament.
Yeah, I mean, their floating power is like none other than we've ever seen. I don't think in the history of the game. I mean,
yeah,
we know Yang Zing are made to float, but Burning Abyss do it just 10 times better.
Way better.
Like way better. Like they can't be touched.
Low-key, most annoying part about Burning Abyss is like as long as they have like the Seer Dante loot, that alone can keep them in a game for like turns longer than any deck should really ever be able to. It kind of sucks. So yeah, but Burning Abyss, love it or hate it, has been really relevant for really long.
That pimp Dante.
Number 3 deck.
Yeah, next on the list. Now this is a deck that I've played, but I've not played as much. But I always wonder why it's not better than it is.
My favorite.
Yeah, one of his favorites. Mermills. Deck's actually been out since 2012, I think.
Yeah, late 2012.
Been getting support since then. And it was actually really good back then as well. Like, I mean, it came out with Megalo. I mean, it did what no other deck had been doing with just special summon monster on the hand, and the monster that you use, the special summon monsters, got other effects, and you were just
so many searches.
So yeah, so many searches, so many pluses, and the deck was great. My thing is the deck is also another deck that has evolved, just like Cosmos had. Like the decks,
right.
It used to be back in the day where you were OTKing, and you never, if your opponent made you go first, you didn't have a turn. Well, the deck evolved from that point to where now, if they made you go first, you can still set up a great board. They're making Toads and Bisgaios and crazy shit like that.
Yeah, this thing's, it's like when I think like, it started out as just like, you know, regular Mermails.
Right.
Then I think Cosmo Blazer came out and that gave it like Abyss Teus and those other things.
Yeah.
Then it got like Tidal with the Dragon Ruler release. So, you know, Tidal was a thing and there's like Tidal Mermails. And even after that, like, you know, obviously like they lost Dragoons and all these other cards. It's raining outside. Huh.
It was raining earlier.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, speak of Mermails.
Yeah.
Wet. Wet and wild. So, yeah, and then like, you know, they lost some cards and they got some cards back in the list. And like basically Dragoons went to 2, then Neptibus came out and then, you know, totally awesome. And I was like, Mermails, they've always been kind of a threat. Yeah. Even if they're not the top of the meta, they're either going to be like OTKing you or they're going to be like dropping a Toad field. Just something like that. It's actually one of the things I like the most about the deck is just that even when I don't feel like I have the best deck in the format, I always feel like it's something that can still compete. And that's really fun.
But see, that's my problem with the deck, though, if I can say, is that, like I said, the deck is one of those things that has become ever-changing, and it's not a bad deck. Like, even to this day, it's still, to this very day, not a bad deck. But I just feel like with as much adaptability as the deck has gained, you would think that it would have been a higher, you know, just a higher powerhouse as far as the formats go.
What would you say holds it back?
I think the fact that it wants to be so offensive is what I think the problem is. The fact that it still stick to its roots of being a deck that puts out a lot of power offensively.
I think really bad recovery.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what holds it back. Like, cause nowadays recovery is nothing. One card makes 4 monsters. You know what I mean?
And Mermails don't get that luxury.
Yeah, especially if they don't have the hand, because they can discard monsters and bring out 1. But if they're not discarding the right monster that gives them pluses, like you said, we're down on Dragoons.
Yeah.
Then they're just not doing it much, and they can't keep up an advantage.
And hand traps hurt. General disruption hurts.
Yeah, anything that spiral moves, especially on the Mermail player's turn, is really bad for them already, because they've already minus themselves to actually make any kind of play as it is.
So deck number 2 is gonna be, and these are, it and number 1 are actually almost like tied, but deck number 2 is Zombies.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, so Zombies, it's kind of complicated to say that they've been competitive because they've changed loads over the years.
Oh god, yeah.
I mean, it really kind of started off as what, like more of the whole Ill Blood Zombie Master type of
actually
decks.
It wasn't Ill Blood. It was like the Zombie Master thing, like the volcanic
Pyramid
turtles.
and
Pyramid. It was like random stuff like
those
that.
things. And then, you know, Plague Spreader eventually came out. I remember that.
Yeah, when Plague Spreader came out, the deck just took off.
Mizuki came out and added a lot to the whole thing. And there's been like loads of zombie synchro variants.
Right, of course, yeah.
I think the more modern day version of zombies would be like Shiranui, I suppose, yeah. And then there's also just the whole like 60 card like Lightsworn zombie hybrid with like the Shiranuis and the Mizukis and the sort of everything all.
I call it the little engines that could.
Yeah, zombies though have really been relevant for like ages.
Forever, they're still relevant. I mean, even just an engine of zombies is just enough to actually make like some of the crazies like synchros or RXZs or whatever. So.
You have just the basics of monsters that float from the deck and then resummon from the grave. It's just recipe for success.
And just loop.
Yeah, and lots of looping.
Lots of loop.
Annoying kind.
Thank you, Omega.
So, yeah, Zombies number 2, and they almost tie with number 1, which is...
Number 1. Drum roll, please. You actually gave me a drum roll. Lightsworns.
I don't actually like this deck, so...
You do or you don't?
I don't.
Actually, the funny thing with Lightsworns is that I do like Lightsworns, but I always hated it. Well, I always hated playing it. Because I played when Lightsworns had first come out when it was quote unquote really good, and Wolf Lightsworn Beast was my fucking spirit animal.
Oh my god,
I always
Wolf's
drew
so
it.
annoying.
I would always draw Wolf with no Lumina and with no solar recharge.
I hated that card.
Yeah, it would just be so bad. I could never hit Wolf off a meal unless I tribute something for Celestia, because tribute something for Celestia was a thing back then, and a lot of the newer players don't even know who Celestia is because.
Yeah.
She hadn't been seen in years, but...
What I think is kind of cool about Lightsworns, or at least why they lasted as long as they did, is because for their time, they had really strong effects.
They did,
like stronger than pretty much every other monster. Like, how often back then did you see something like Lila that could just straight up pop a Speller Trap? Yeah. Or, you know, Luma that was a Zombie Master clone, or, you know, these kinds of things. And then milling from deck to grave
Oh god.
has always been a good thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! So what happens when you make an archetype that literally says, at the end of your turn, just send 2 or 3 cards from the top of your deck? You know, it's crazy.
Anyway. And let's not forget one of the, which, it goes totally unnoticed nowadays, Raikou. Remember Raikou Lightsworn?
Oh, I actually liked Raikou.
Raikou,
he's my spirit animal.
He was a $30 freaking super rare.
Thumbs up if Raikou is your spirit animal.
I remember when Pot of Duality came out at $100. I was able to trade 3 Raikous for a secret rare Pot of Duality.
Ooh, Raikou was vicious.
Raikou was, and yeah, because you set the Raikou, and your opponent knows it's a Raikou, but they can't do anything about it. So
sometimes you just can't answer it.
You just can't answer it, and they're running 3 of them, so they're gonna set this Raikou, pop a card, and get 3 free meals. Oh, and then the boss monster of all boss monsters at the time.
It sounded like you said 3 free meals.
Well, yeah,
that's kind of what it feels like.
It was. There were meals and there's meals. You know what I'm saying? We always eat.
It's all the same thing.
Always eating.
And yeah, the boss monster.
Boss monster, Judgment Dragon. So now they're milling the cards so they can get 4 different names. Any 4 different Lightsworn names.
Which at the time, Judgment Dragon is straight destructive thing. Is Demise 2.0. Like
we didn't have Solemn Strike. There was no Solemn Warning or things like that.
Hell, he was out before like Effect Veiler and Fiendish and stuff.
Exactly. So there wasn't many ways. Like
there isn't that much you could do.
Actually, there wasn't any way to stop him really. Once he hit the field, like if you didn't like Torrential or something like that, and even
there
then,
was Bottomless, they still call priority.
I'll say even then we had priority back in the day. If you older players remember priority, we had that. So
fuck that bullshit.
Summon him, Bottomless, priority, pay 1,000, blow up the field.
And like every other deck on this list, Lightsworns have transformed throughout the years.
Oh yeah.
There's been Zombie Sworn, there's been Synchro Sworn, there's been Light Ray Sworn, there's been Dragon Ruler Sworn.
They're still
now there's
zombies,
60 card Minerva Sworn.
Oh god, yeah. It'll keep going.
It's number 1 on the list for a reason.
For a reason. And actually the crazy thing about it is well besides Cosmo, I was about to say up to 5, but actually no, even outside the out of all the 5 that we listed, actually here recently, it's gotten the most top/wins.
Yeah,
I was gonna say besides Cosmos, but actually it beats out Cosmos right now too. It's gotten the most top/wins in the recent formats of Yu-Gi-Oh. So it shows that no matter how old it is, it's still a great powerhouse. So.
Yep, all 5 of these decks, the recurring trend is good fundamentals, like floating or milling, and then good adaptability.
Deck being made to do what it does and doing it well.
And I think that, depending on what happens with Zoo, that it could become the next sort of honorary member of decks that last too damn long. It's looking like it, but then maybe they'll just ban Broad Bull and everything, and it won't happen. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know if it'll be the deck that lasts forever. I feel like it'll be an engine. I feel like the engine thing would be more of a correct term.
So those are our 5 decks that have stood the test of time. What do you guys think?
Won't fucking die.
Let us know in the comments if we're wrong and horrible people for making this, or if you completely agree. Anyway, that's it for the vid.
What are your picks?
Yes. Thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. If you want to support us, buy a Team APS shirt from Teespring. They're only $20. It's a great way to show your support. Links in the description and the video. I think that's going to be it. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Later.
Peace.